record this really quick. So, but it's really awesome to have her. So, and hopefully we can really get everybody's questions answered. So we kind of have it set for an hour, but I'm pretty sure this is going to go a little longer. So, yeah, if Audrey, do you want to, I guess, introduce yourself a little bit? Maybe something.
You can start the introduction, okay? You've got my info. You got my number.
Okay. All right. So, let me. So I guess Dr. Audrey is she's a naturopathic doctor. She also has a PhD in the area of psychoneuroimmunology and a master's degree of counseling psychology and a registered nurse. So she's got additional training in neuropathic endocrinology, anti-aging regenerative medicine, functional medicine, and traditional Chinese medicine. Ayurvedic medicine and energy medicine. So she's also board certified in alternative health. She's been an active member of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine and the American College for Advancement of Medicine since 1996. She also served as a medical consultant for the U.S. Department of Labor for over 18 years. Dr. Mickel has been an associate professor at the University of Utah, Graduate School of Social Work, and the University of California, San Francisco. She was previously a medical staff of St. Francis Hospital in San Francisco, and she's a former Army nurse, as well as a decorated Vietnam War veteran. Dr. Mickel's experience in anti-aging longevity, her experience is anti-aging longevity and wellness, and she has been providing wellness, health consulting, lifestyle coaching, and advanced nutrition counseling for over 40 years. So that's, and she's currently completing a fellowship in peptide therapy. So, which is a new longevity modality. So, and she's also a commercial multi-engine instrumental rated pilot. So if that wasn't enough. So I guess, Audrey, if you, I'll just ask you some questions and we can kind of do kind of a little interviews and we can, hopefully everybody gets a little bit of information about you and we can kind of do a deep dive into peptides.
Well, at least we can jump off the deep end and go into peptides. But I also think that this could be an ongoing, discussion because peptides, are evolving. I think they are the way of the future. And I think there's a lot of research which is there already, but a lot of research which is coming out showing that peptides, in my opinion, and I know that Phil Mikens also, welcome to the call, Phil. I'm so happy you were able to join us. I know that peptides are the way of the future. I think they're a leading edge anti-aging modality, and what I like about them is that they're so safe, and the potential in using them, I think, has really fully yet to be discovered.
Yeah.
I use peptides. I've been using peptides for quite some time, and I was first introduced to peptides from Phil at International Anti-Aging Systems, and he has been very kind and in really providing a lot of information about peptides. And then, it's been evolving in terms of peptides. I really think it is a part of anti-aging medicine. I think it's a part of longevity medicine. Yeah. I think, peptides are just, really, really exciting. So, and I think that I've been using peptides or working with peptides for about 15 years. And I still keep learning things about them, of other potentials. and what they can do, and the possibilities with them. So if you think about it, is that every single person has peptides in their body, and then with the aging process, we know that those peptides decline, and we also know that I think one should start considering adding peptides to a longevity regimen around age 30 to 35, because what happens as we age, that the protein synthesis begins to decrease. And proteins are really vital to cell nutrition, and they're a factor in cell death and also in preventing cell death. And so what happens is, as our proteins start to degrade and decline, so do our peptides in our body. And peptides basically are cell signaling proteins. Okay. Sorry about that. They're cell signaling proteins. And so that's extremely important to realize. And so we want to keep those proteins and peptides very working, and because they're very important for many chemical reactions in the body. Okay, and they also help peptides. Helps to provide or transport nutrients into the tissues. So we want to make sure that protein formulation is optimized. We want to make sure that the peptides are optimized to really slow the aging process and to optimize cellular function. And I think that's what peptides can do. They can optimize cellular function, and we do know that they can slow. There's been a lot of data, a lot of research done in Russia showing what peptides have the potential of doing. And in terms of longevity, in terms of, really providing a slower, more efficient aging process. So I would basically, I'm excited about what we can do with peptides. Because we know that the research has been done that there's two peptides that were, I think the first peptide really looked at and done research about is the thymus peptide. And of course, that's extremely important for the immune system, because as we age, the immune system rapidly declines. And so it's not as effective and not as efficient. So just alone with a thymus peptide, you're going to have cellular regeneration at the thymus, and you're going to have a more effective working thymus. The second one is they started doing research on was the pineal. And the pineal is a really exciting peptide because it rejuvenates the pineal gland. And we do know with a younger pineal gland, it's going to have a major impact on telomere functioning. It's going to have a major impact on longevity. And they find that when they put the thymus protein and the pineal peptide together, there was a significant decrease in the aging process.
Yeah, that's, one of the most popular peptides that that we've seen is and the biggest impact that I've seen is definitely from the combination of the blood, the thymus, and the pineal. And this is, one of the interesting things, or the thing that our people would always try to understand is how do the peptides work?
Well, the peptides are basically cell signaling. That's what happens. So they're cell signaling agents, and they're short. They're basically chains of amino acids. And they're there's actually, when you look at amino acids, there's, short chain, there's medium chains, there's long chains, amino acids. So it's a stacking or a chain of amino acids. And they don't stay around the body for that long, but they're cell signaling. So they're going to help improve the cell signaling and function to the organ of the organ. And that is, and of course, again, again, with aging, pineal goes down, thymus goes down. But when you return those cell signaling agents to the organ, they're going to know what to do. And that's the beauty of a peptide, is you can't overdose on it. Like, for example, the natural peptides, you can't overdose on those. The big body will only use what is needed, but it's basically short chain amino acids.
Yeah, I always like to explain to people that it works like a key, right? Essentially, it goes to your stem cells and it attaches, into the DNA, and it says, it unlocks the potential of it to be able to, heal it. And the best part of it is, the body has all of the information through its DNA of how it's supposed to be. It has all the information of how to build it from a single cell into billions of cells. So it has all the data to of the blueprints of how it's supposed to be. So all you're doing is you're putting the key
turning it back on. So the peptides initially impact your DNA, and then from impacting the DNA, then they impact the RNA. And this is where we get the cell signaling effect. And then from the RNA, then that will cause or create the restructuring of the proteins. And so the organ can actually regenerate. And that has been shown in clinical studies. They actually did a study in Russia. They looked at people who were just given supplements, and then another group which was given the pineal, it was just a pineal, peptide. And then they found that the people who took the supplements had a small spike in regeneration, but when they put the peptides in there, they had approximately 50% more regeneration.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And and that's one of the best parts, I think, is it's so well documented, all of this stuff. So it's not like we're all experimenting with it. It's all fairly well documented.
Well, the Russians have been working with this for 40 years. And this is one of the gifts that the Russian medical services sciences have done for us, is because they really wanted to develop a modality that could regenerate people. And that's exciting, but that's in 40 years. But, there's even pharmaceutical drugs out there right now that don't have that kind of a track record. Whereas we have the track record on peptides. We've got the research, we've got the data, we've got the clinical trials. It works, they work,
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. What should people, when they're taking the peptides, what's going to be the best process for that? The big thing is, I always tell people to make sure your body is clean, right?
Detox, of course.
Yeah, so that's, and we have a great mad scientist that we found that, generates, pretty incredible results with his detox system. But as far as, other than, doing a pretty hardcore detox, is there anything else that you see that helps boost the results?
Absolutely. I think the first place I always start with everyone is lifestyle factors. So you want to optimize your lifestyle factors, diet, exercise, sleep, stress, all of those things. And also, I think it's a really good idea to monitor yourself and really, monitor and then there's devices where you can monitor your clinical data, but also to do lab work at least once a year, but pretty in-depth lab work so you can see your baseline markers of where things are at. And that's important. And because most people, they go to their doc and they say, okay, just do routine labs. But there's many physicians out there who their labs that they recommend they could be better in terms of looking at more optimizing every single organ of the body. Because that's what you want. You want a longevity lifestyle, and you want to, again, you want to be making your system clean, and detox comes in. But, diet, exercise, sleep, I like meditation for keeping the stress down. And so you first start off by optimizing the best you can, and then you can add in peptides. You could add in peptides right away if there's a condition that you need to address, because they work beautifully. With the natural peptides, they just work slower, but they're very, very, very safe. And they have the ability to know where they're supposed to go and know what they're supposed to do. So there's a safety profile is extremely high with peptides. And then we have the natural peptides. We also, in Russia, they also did a synthesized peptide. That's used more for short acting. If you have, they don't, the natural peptides work more slowly. Again, but they work over time. And I think it's a good idea to be using them pretty much, continuously, not all the time, but in cycles. You do several cycles, several rounds of peptides several times a year. And the older you are, the more you want to cycle, and the more you want to continue taking the peptides. So I think this is just a total support program. But again, get the baseline started, and then feel free. But if you want to get started using peptides right now, I see no downside.
Yeah, and I think from what we've seen, it's repeating them and going on a long term is pretty great. And I mean, we do we do have a wellness program that everybody's probably heard about, which we offer essentially 6 months of peptides. I think for like $1,300 or something along those lines, which is. But the big thing that we do with that is you prepay for the peptides, but we do offer you free consultation. So we do, and that's been pretty cool because, you get to really talk to people and figure out, what lifestyle changes they have, what they've implemented, what their stress levels are. And, we can go at a very systematic approach. I like to segment the peptides into two. There's the core peptides, which for me are the pineal, thymus, cartilage, blood, and central nervous system.
Right, I agree.
And because those peptides, they can really be mixed in with any other peptide you take without, anything, any adverse feelings or, because some like that, we've had the only one we've had that didn't mix well is like adrenal and liver. So mixing those two people kind of felt a little weird. But they're all really good mixing together, but those 5, you can really put them in any bundle. If you're taking something for your thyroid, if you're taking something for your digestion, you can always put one of those peptides in there and, just keep booting up your core. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we really like to concentrate on when we do, this wellness program, is go in and help really address the holistic picture. Mm-hmm. I think, one thing, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit, that we've seen is you really gotta talk to your body, right? And you really gotta figure out what the core issue is. And that's because some people, the one complaint I've gotten a few years ago from a gentleman who's, bought all the peptides. He's made a lot of, he bought a lot of the peptides, and he said, I tried them all, but my blood pressure won't go down.
That's lifestyle factors.
And that's exactly it. So, you may have high blood pressure, but you got to really take the root of where your high blood pressure is coming from.
Right.
Are you eating too much salt? Are you, stressed? Or do you have a clogged artery? I mean, there's so many different aspects, and you can't.
Well, that's why it's so important to get the lab work done to check your biomarkers. And I think if some people should be checking their biomarkers at least once a year.
Yeah. Got a couple of really quick questions in here. You don't have video, right, Audrey?
I have video. It says, yeah, I have video.
Oh, you want me? It looks like it's turned off.
Really?
Yeah. I think I can
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
now
you
we
for
can
doing
see
that.
it.
I'd done that, so sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. So, do we want to go into a couple questions, or do you want to go into a couple other items so that you know about the peptides?
Let's bring some questions on. Go from there.
Okay, so we got a couple of questions. We had somebody ask can you talk about the thyroid peptides?
The thyroid peptides are very, very, very interesting because if you think about it, is your thyroid is one of your master organs in your body. If your thyroid isn't working properly, then most of the other organs are not going to work as optimally. So I think the thyroid is extremely important. Again, get your baseline data about your thyroid. But the thyroid is, when it is optimized, that is going to have a major role in the functioning of your mitochondria and the production of ATP. So the thyroid peptide, and now actually I like to do thyroid and adrenal together because whatever affects the thyroid is going to affect the adrenal, whatever affects the adrenal is going to affect the thyroid. They go hand in hand. But thyroid is a master organ in the body. And so I think it's very, very important that if you do have, and also the way that a lot of docs measure your thyroid hormones is they only look at one thyroid hormone, which is the thyroid stimulating hormone, the TSH. And if you're monitoring your thyroid, you actually want to also take a look at free and total T4, free and total T3, and also you want to look at reverse T3 and perhaps thyroid antibodies. So we need a more comprehensive look. And then when you take the thyroid peptides, you can monitor how you're doing with that. Again, most docs just do a thyroid stimulating hormone, and that doesn't really give you enough data. But
I've seen great results with nature's thyroid for people, but it's a supplementation, right? That's the difference. Is do you want your own thyroid to be produced, or do you want to be taking something that'll stimulate your thyroid? So
yeah, I would say I always like to start. My motto is Mother Nature knows best.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'd say, start with Mother Nature because it's going to work slowly, it's going to work more effectively, and there's no downsides. I've not seen any downsides at all to using peptides and peptide therapy. So I think getting your thyroid, first monitor it, get your baseline, and then considering the thyroid peptides. But I would also start on a low dose and then gradually build up.
Okay, so you recommend starting on a lower dosage of the thyroid peptide and then moving up?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
How long?
I think the other thing to see is monitor, how do you feel? Do you have the energy? Do you have the clarity? Are your hands warm?
Yeah. Yeah, and low iron is also pretty big on determining, right? So I know a lot of women that have low iron are typically connected with having some kind of an issue with their thyroid.
Yeah, but again, you also, I'm getting a little note here from Phil about the gene switches in Dr. Cavison. So that's one of our brilliant guys. So also he's mentioning here that raw eggs have peptides. Well, of course we know that.
Oh.
I have a little problem with raw eggs. Cooked eggs, absolutely. Okay. Okay, so I appreciate the notes from Phil. Okay. And actually, there's one question here. Little note here from Phil. Great to hear from you. Yeah, well, I'm really glad you're able to sign on. And also, Phil mentions here the peptides of the future. I agree. And there's a public book available now. I agree. Okay. Also, very important for me. Okay, Phil, I almost feel like we just ought to add you in here because Phil. Okay, so Phil is my video just went down. Okay, so.
Well, Phil is just so everybody kind of understands. Phil is the person who is, I think, the first person who actually brought the peptides into the U.S.
He's the one. Phil actually is the one. God bless you, Phil. He's the one who turned me on to peptides in the first place. So I am eternally grateful to Phil. He is doing a great job. I'm going to sing his praises because this is a great guy, one of my favorite people. And Phil has done an amazing job bringing the information from Russia to the Western population. So we all should give great thanks to Phil for the work he's doing and the work he continues to do. So, you know.
Yeah,
He says he's blushing. Phil is great. I know we'd love to see you online here, Phil. But he's one of the good guys. And he also has a note here that says that Cavison said that the thyroid peptide will also reduce the thyroid if your thyroid is overactive, it's hypothyroid. Okay, and hence why we call them bioregulators. So. You know,
yeah, and well, the interesting thing about the thyroid peptide, I get this question all the time, probably once a week. Somebody asks me this question and it works both ways. But the question is, I'm hypnothyroid. Can I take the thyroid peptide? And then there's people that say, hey, I'm hyperthyroid. Can I take the thyroid peptide? And the answer to both of those is exactly the same.
Yes, and yes.
It doesn't stimulate more peptide production. It doesn't stimulate less peptide production. It just tells your thyroid to work properly in a very simple way.
That's actually a great way. That's how the peptides really work. It's cell signaling. So it's signaling the cells to how to optimize it. You know, a little of this, a little of that, and Mother Nature knows best. So you give it the information, and then the body will respond. And that's what's so exciting about peptides. It's so natural.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the way of Mother Nature. And I jokingly say, Mother Nature knows best. So don't mess with Mother Nature.
Exactly.
And that's one of the issues with me with pharmaceuticals is it's overriding the system versus gently saying, okay, this is what you need. A little of this, a little of that, this is what you need.
Yeah.
Now, there's one woman here who sent in a question I saw, and I have had a very interesting case study, and that I had a woman who wanted to have a baby, and she really wanted to not go into menopause very rapidly. So we used a combination. We started off with the pineal and the thymus. We started on the baseline, blood vessel too. Mm-hmm. And I like the blood vessel because it helps, as you're regenerating an organ, you're also going to optimize the blood flow to that organ too.
Of course.
So I love blood vessel. And then we put her on the ovary peptide. Actually, we did a combination of, we alternated between thyroid and ovary, and then thyroid and adrenal. And we were able, we did several rounds. We did, actually about 4 rounds, going back and forth. And we were able to keep her estrogen levels up, keeping her follicle stimulating hormones down, and continue her fertility for several years more.
Oh, wow.
So I've had good success with that one, absolutely.
So why would you do the adrenal glands?
Because I did the adrenal gland because the adrenals are producing hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're looking at hormone optimization, you really want to have all of the hormone organs working optimally and properly.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Okay, so.
If I got a question here in an email that was sent in yesterday. So how are these peptides different than having an organ supplement from bovine?
Well, the bovine does work. It's going to work slower. It is giving proteins. It's going to work much slower, and you're going to have some cell signaling, but not as optimal, not as intense as the peptides, because the peptides are specifically structured for cell signaling. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think I like using glandulars, but I also want to make sure that they are from grass-fed, pasture-raised animals who are lovingly cared for. I think it's very important. And and we have lost that information. When I was growing up, we ate the animal from the nose to the toe.
Oh,
so
wow.
we ate everything. And so we would get liver and brain and kidney, but we got it in its natural form. And I mean, and again, Mother Nature knows best. And we also know that like attracts like. So if you give a like organ to, from an animal to a human, you are going to get some support there. Absolutely. For example, I have women who say they're anemic. We look at the numbers and we look at the ferritin and the iron binding capacity and the total iron. And then I like to use liver, from a grass-fed, pasture-raised cow. And that works beautifully to help treat anemia.
Okay, wow. Awesome. And how are they different than essential amino acids?
Well, amino acids are the building blocks of the body. And I do love using amino acids, the 8 essential amino acids. And they can definitely slow the aging process, and they can definitely help with keeping the muscle mass, preventing muscle wasting, sarcopenia, with the aging process. I think that the amino acids, along with the peptides and organ support, is a winning solution. That's what I do, actually.
There you go. And actually, this follows perfectly into kind of the next question. What other supplements help absorb the peptides and digestive enzyme, HCI, ACV, any particular vitamins?
Well, again, you always want to have the baseline, and you want to make sure your gut is functioning optimally, because we could give you supplements till the cows come home, but you want to make sure that your microbiome is functioning properly and your digestion is functioning properly. So definitely, at a certain age, you do need digestive enzymes. You do need hydrochloric acid. Generally, from about the age 50 on, you do need some hydrochloric acid support. But I also, I would say that's a good place to start, is making sure your digestion is optimal, your microbiome is optimal, and that's all, you're absorbing your food and utilizing it. Now, I think that there's always the core basics vitamin D levels, magnesium levels, those are things we monitored. And I do believe that, magnesium is really important in the body. Vitamin D is very important to the body. So you have to look at the cofactors. B vitamins are extremely important.
Yes.
But if we're not talking about like megadosing, we're talking about giving the organs their support, and so they will, do their own magic and optimize their own functioning.
So, we do have, as something we sell as a service, we do have like a nutrition test that we offer to our customers. And essentially we, it's a sample of a hair and we send it off to a lab, and then they come back a result and they're saying all of the nutritions that you are deficient in. Is that a pretty good option?
Well, that's one way, but there's, the other ways of doing it. That's one option, definitely, but again, I like to do labs. I like to take a look at the gut functioning, and there are some really cool new tests out there that will look at, gut functioning, and it also will show you your imbalance, the imbalances, and the pathways of the for the optimal functioning of the body. So you want to get as much, I think baseline data is really important.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So I also, I want to just mention, there is one supplement that you do carry, which I'm in love with.
I know where this is going, but.
It's called oxaloacetate. And in order for your body to make ATP, and that's the energy storehouse. The mitochondria makes ATP, which is the energy storehouse of the cell, and it's part of the Krebs cycle. But just basically your Krebs cycle is how your body is producing energy, basically. And there's one piece in the Krebs cycle where the body is producing oxaloacetate. And oxaloacetate is an incredible substance in terms of repair, rebuild. Right now the big push is on NAD. Well, when you give the body oxaloacetate, it'll improve the NAD functioning. And so when you improve the NAD, then you improve cellular functioning and mitochondrial functioning. With the aging process, every single cell of the body is going to experience the loss of ATP, and it's going to really be losing mitochondrial functioning. And we know that all the degenerative diseases of aging are related to poor mitochondrial function. And so we give you, and right now there's a big push out there to take NAD, NADH, NMN, all which do replace it. But the beauty of oxaloacetate is that it will regulate your own NAD production and not take you over the top. It'll balance it off. It's Mother Nature's natural way of going about it. I love oxaloacetate. Can you tell?
Yeah, we actually had Al Cash here. I think it was last week.
Yeah, so, he's great. He's another buddy of mine. All of us mad scientists stay together. Okay? Well, we love it.
And I told a story of, for me, Benadryl, which is the product, changed my life. It really did, because I would take it before, and for me, I like to think I have a really highly functioning brain. Some people may disagree, but
well, that's their opinion.
Exactly. So for me, everything I can to give me an edge, to get me a little bit better with my brain, it's always a go, right? And I've tried paracetam, and I've tried NAD, and I've tried, vinpocetine, as well as oxaloacetate. And there is absolutely no product that I have taken which gives you the instant gratification, like Benadryl does. And that's
I agree. I agree. So I take it every day myself too.
So and
I'll actually tell you a quick story about Benadryl, okay? Or
right.
oxaloacetate, okay? I'll give you a plug here. I had a woman who was in her 70s,
Mhm.
and she was diabetic, and with making some lifestyle changes, also using a pancreas peptide and some Benadryl or oxaloacetate, we were able to take her from a diabetic to not being diabetic.
Yeah.
And that was based also on her hemoglobin A1C levels and her triglyceride levels. And, it's amazing what, a simple tweak in the, Krebs cycle with supplementing this one piece will really turn it around. So you can reverse diabetes.
Yeah, and that's what Al was discussing is, they have the studies, the clinical trials to show that, it is able to regulate blood sugar,
Absolutely.
which is
So I
incredible.
had, I had a woman who's like 7.6 blood hemoglobin A1C,
Mhm.
and we took her down to 5.6.
Wow, that's 30%.
Yeah, that's amazing, and that is considered no longer clinical diabetes.
Wow,
So,
that's
and I take it. I walk my talk. Okay, and you can ask that question about and how old are you?
yeah. And I mean, for me, on a more um, different note, I had a big accident about 1 year and 1 month ago, April 18th. And we just moved into this house. And, a week later I was driving and I get a car hits mine. I had a Mini Cooper at the time, and I had a SUV hit and roll over onto my car and pushed me out into the middle of the road. All the airbags went off and my shoulder ended up getting torn apart. My AC joint, not the socket, ball and socket joint. And, I had to go into surgery. I had a lot of, and, I was put in a lot of pain medicine, and I quit all my pain medicine because I don't like pain medicine. And back to my brain didn't work on pain medicine. I felt like
Anyone's brain who doesn't work, who works on pain.
yeah. So, I ended up going into a PIA, which is one of our anti-inflammatory products that we found. It's an anti-inflammatory in pain to cut out all the pain. And then I went heavy into the Benadryl. And the big thing for me is the depression that came post-surgery, which is way more common than you think it should be. And it really impacted me and my ability to just function on a daily basis. And once we got started taking the Benadryl, it was kind of, happy pill, right? You take it and you feel more positive, you feel more energy, you feel ability to concentrate.
Right.
And I'm not going to say it got me back to how I was instantly, but, over a time and over a process, it helped me get over my depression, along with, counseling. That's another huge thing that helped me with, talking to somebody and being able to, open up and, deal with a lot of these issues. But, that was my big thing is, because depression is a pretty hard thing. And, sometimes, you don't want to be on a lot of those depression medication, because you start taking them, you take them forever.
Well, also when you take any pharmaceutical is going to have a negative impact on the functioning of your microbiome, your gut microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that people don't realize. Think, I can take my pharmaceuticals, but they will have an impact. And if you also think about it in the gut microbiome, for example, men's primary neurotransmitter is dopamine. Women, our primary neurotransmitter is serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a disruption in the gut, we actually know that, for example, men produce approximately 70 to 80% of their dopamine, which is the hormone that gives men their drive to get out there and, go kill the turkeys, and bring them home for dinner. So dopamine is extremely, extremely important for men. And if anything is off in your gut, whether it be pain meds, antidepressants, it's going to have a negative impact on your gut microbiome. So it's better to, do something natural. Again, Mother Nature knows best. And for also women, we produce approximately 80% of our serotonin in our gut.
Oh, wow.
We often think that the brain talks to the gut. No, the gut talks to the brain.
Yeah.
So you balance it, okay? So also you had surgery. Did they give you general anesthesia?
Of course. Yeah, they knocked me out.
Yeah. So whenever you take general anesthesia, it takes about 6 months to really get it out of your body.
Yeah.
And that's also going to have a negative impact on your gut microbiome. See, it's like, the knee bone talks to the hip bone, it's all connected. And also when you've had general anesthesia, it's going to have a negative impact on the production of your mitochondria and your ATP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's my little story. So,
okay.
We have a couple other questions we can jump in. Does using a synthetic first have a larger impact for success before taking the natural peptide?
Some people who are really urgent, serious conditions, you can start with a synthetic, but you definitely want to transition over to the natural as soon as possible. The synthetics, they do work. Yeah. They can work quicker. But I would not take them for the long haul.
Okay.
You take them until you need them. So I think the synthetics, there's a place for them. I also know a lot of the clinical studies in Russia have used injectable, IM. So I think that there's another consideration there. There's also some peptides that are developed that, biohackers or bodybuilders use. There's a place for them too.
Yeah.
But there's a whole panoply of peptides out there. And I think, we want to keep it as close to Mother Nature as possible.
Okay.
But there is a role, because even on the synthetics, or synthesized, I should say, there's a role for them. There's also a role for the injectables. Yeah. I'm not going to rule out anything with peptides because they do such great things. And I have used every single peptide out there. I remember one time I asked Phil, I said, Phil, can I just take every single peptide there is and just keep cycling through them and, for really, truly longevity? Because, I want to be around for a long time and have a really good time. So.
Yeah, actually, now that you mentioned, we're actually talking, and we've mentioned a little bit of developing a year-long program for the peptides, because one of our customers, who ironically, he's one of the owners of a hospital. He goes on a 12-month cycle of all the peptides. He will go in and he has it all scheduled out, and all year, all he does is take peptides.
But I wouldn't take more than 5 peptides at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've had that conversation and try to help him structure it a little bit, but he goes in, he's got 21 peptides over 12 months, or a little less because he doesn't need ovary peptide. And he just kind of schedules all it out in bundles, and he kind of goes through, and every 3 months he makes a purchase. So, that's something that we've discussed, internally, is building up a program where we can help you build that pack together and, essentially have it, I don't know whether it's recurring or whatever it is. And, you can go in and he's reported that, he's had tests done on all of his organs, and all of his organs' health is of a 30-year-old man. And he's, way past that. So,
how old is he?
So, huh?
How old is he?
I never asked. He never volunteered, but I know he's retired. So, um, I mean, and I think a good follow up to this would be dosage and stacking peptides. We do sell packs that we've put together, digestive pack, which includes the pancreas, stomach,
Right.
and liver. We have the immune system pack, which is, your thymus, pineal, blood. What would you recommend for people stacking peptides and
It's individualized. I almost would want to do a consultation and say, what are your goals? What are your needs? And then personalize it. I'm really into personalizing. I don't think it's one size fits all. I think you want to also pay attention to the peptides that you're drawn to, and then and go from there. If some just speak to you. Now, I actually have this, 2 cents here with from Phil, which I really appreciate. Phil, keep it coming. You're here in spirit. Actually, you're here in words. Those here saying that peptides, the naturals were in the clinical trials in Russia. We know that if we have done our homework. And since they're short chain, which is less than 6 amino acids, they've shown that they can all be taken orally and pass into the blood. And if they're passing into the blood, they can be absorbed and utilized by the organs. So that's the beauty of it. I personally have used every single peptide out there except for the testes. I don't have those parts.
Exactly.
But I have done ovary. I have done everything, So, but again, pay attention. It would be good again to get your baseline data, find out exactly where you're at, and then we can zero in and target. But I think it's wise to do pineal and a thymus, and I'm still back to blood vessel on several times a year.
Okay, so you actually recommend repeating it over.
I do recommend repeating, and depending upon your age, if you're older, you may want to do 3 rounds, even 4 rounds. So, if you're older, if you're up there, if you're in your 70s, I would get a little more aggressive with the peptides, and cycle them more and take them more.
Okay. What about dosage? I mean, so the recommendation on the pack is 1 to 2 capsules, 1 to 2 times a day.
I would, again, depending on your age, depending upon your condition. If you're up there in your 60s and 70s, then I would go 2 capsules twice a day. Okay. If I'm younger, really 1 capsule, 1 to 2 times a day. But I think depending upon the age, depending upon your condition, looking at all the baseline issues. So, okay.
And you recommend
there's no downside here. If you say, well, I want to, if I'm in my 40s, but there's other comorbidities going on, and I really want the regeneration, then 2 twice a day.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I've talked to one of the people on our consultation program. I've talked to them, and we recommended to go with, I think it was digestive or one of those bundles, and we put the bundle together and customized it for her and sent it out. And she calls me a week later and says, Vlad, I don't think I should be taking 2. I'm going to go to 1. And that's the coolest part of it is you really have to, your body will kind of tell you, and you just got to be it.
Pay attention.
Another gentleman who was younger, than this customer, he was struggling with a lot of issues from birth, of all kinds of, problems. And he calls me and said, Vlad, 2 capsules is enough. I need to take 4. And, and it's anywhere really between 1 and, 4 or more if you need to, but I haven't run into anybody who's taken more than 4, but it all works.
Yes, it will. And but the beauty of the peptides, and I have another love note here from Phil. Thank you, Bill. Is that if you take more than the body, you're saying you take more than the body needs, the body's fine with it. In other
Correct.
words, you will eliminate it. So Phil's putting his 2 cents worth here about people worried about COVID-19, and so he basically is saying the thymus and the blood vessels are a must boost immunity and help prevent the blood clots.
Yeah.
So thank you, Phil, for that one. And I just want to shout out to Phil here. He said, will I be at RadFest or A4M this year? Yes and yes. And I can't wait to see you, Phil.
Awesome. Well, the one interesting thing that, all the studies that I've done, all the Googling I've done on this coronavirus is it seems to be, they call it a respiratory, but it seems that, because it's respiratory, one of the critical parts of your respiratory is blood.
Yeah.
And from what, I've known a couple of people who actually passed away from the virus. And
I'm so sorry.
yeah, they weren't really close to me, but they're friends, parents of friends and such. And the big thing is people can't breathe. And even the ventilators, they don't help them because the ventilators just push oxygen in there. So, and this isn't any scientific, but it seems very possible that it's your absorption of oxygen by your blood cells.
The thing about it is I would focus here on prevention.
Yeah.
You get yourself a nice, strong immune system, then you're not going to be as much at risk. So I think that's the secret. And this is where thymus comes in.
Yeah.
So that's where I am really giving myself thymus support right now, because I'm not exactly a young chicken. So the thymus is my friend, and I would like to put that in a loud shout out in terms of thymus, because that's where your innate and immune system is formulated, developed. And with the aging process, your adaptive and your innate immune system go down. Thymus is your support. That's your secret. So I would actually immediately, if not sooner, get a bunch of the thymus.
Okay. Have you used First Line?
With the thymus.
Have you used First Line?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, that one seems to be pretty popular right now with, boosting your immune system. So just, we do have a bunch of it in stock, so we just got a lot of it. So if there's any.
Actually, go with thymus first.
Okay.
Okay. So if you sell out of thymus in the next 24 hours, you know why. Thymus. I think
we've been ordering extraordinary amounts of thymus. It's been it's a staple. And then, boosting everybody's immune system right now is a big priority, I think, in everybody's.
And that's the most effective thing you can do. Keeping your stress down, get outside, spend some time in Mother Nature, relax, eat good food, and I think you're good to go. So.
Okay. Do we want to, let's go on to the next question we have, because there's a lot of questions. I don't know if we'll be able to get through all of them.
Well, actually, I'd say let's do like 1 or 2 more questions and then probably close it. We can always do round 2. We can always do, this could be an ongoing discussion.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of information out there and a lot of things to discuss. And I'm really grateful for everyone who's taken the time out of their day to join us. I think this is an exciting topic. It's the way of the future. And there's no downside to this, none. So
yeah, we can do this on every 2 weeks or something like that. And because there's a lot of information.
There's a lot of information
for hours.
Yeah. I have actually, Phil has sent me or gave me some, which is, God bless Phil, again, praises, can't help it. But he gave me some really good clinical data about the peptides, and I just, it's really great.
Yeah. So a couple more, I guess. So taking the peptides with I always recommend people to take it, with their meal. Is it better to take it before bedtime?
I think, again, it's very individualized.
Okay.
I like to take it, I actually take it like before breakfast and before dinner. So I always have some in my bloodstream.
Okay. And let's, I guess, jump to a couple other questions here. We can, well, if you want, Audrey, we can get Phil on the call.
Is he joining us?
He can. He says he's up for it.
Okay, Phil, join us now that we've been singing your praises.
All right, Phil, I got you unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wow,
Okay.
Wonderful. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Sorry about the accident. It's night over here. I'm in the UK. So, but it's lovely to see you, both of you.
Yeah, great to see you too, Phil. It's been a
And
while.
it's been very, very nice to listen to you both, because there aren't many people who are educated about this subject. And so it's wonderful to hear people who know all about it. It's really good. Real wonderful.
Well, you're one of the reasons why we are into peptides, Phil. So it comes right back to you.
Can I tell you a very short story and then I'll shut up?
Absolutely, Phil.
You don't have to
I'm
shut
afraid
up,
Audrey knows I'm a raconteur, I'm afraid. But because this is your show, not my show. But I just want to tell you that when I was a young man, first degree I took was in nutrition. In fact, in those days, they called it food and vitamin technology. Anyway, and the professor one day, he put up on the screen, because we didn't have PowerPoint or anything like that, he put up what you'd find in food, and you had these various categories. So obviously you had vitamins, you had minerals, you had what I prefer to call oils or fats, if you prefer that term, and fiber. And I remember on that day as a young man and seeing fiber as the predominant ingredient in food, thinking to myself, well, either fiber is very important, and bear in mind this was 1980, 81, so it was quite a while ago, and people didn't really know that much about fiber then. So I either thought, well, there's so much fiber in food that either the fiber is very important and it's been overlooked, or they've missed something. So fast forward about 15 or maybe 20 years, and I got to meet Professor Vladimir Kabinson for the first time. He's the principal Russian researcher behind all this that we've been talking about today. And I heard him actually lecture in Istanbul. And after he had lectured about these short chain peptides, it was like a light bulb going off in my head. And it took me back to that moment in the college when I was thinking about fiber being predominant. And I suddenly got it. They'd missed something, because these peptides are in food. Right. They are another message in food to our bodies, and they're gene switches. They're highly specific, which is why you see virtually no side effects whatsoever. And this is another message from food that wasn't known about. Well, it was a secret in the Russian military, actually, for many years. So this is, and there will be others. I have no doubt there'll be others. It could be magnetism, it could be light, it could be all sorts of other things. But that for me was an epiphany. So these peptides are gene switches, which makes them incredible tools for health.
I agree.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, and it's very organic. That's what I really love about it, is you're not, I mean, I'm nothing against chemicals, but it's when you can see that it's comes back from the thing that you're supposed to be eating anyway, it makes it a huge statement.
That's Mother Nature, the magic of Mother Nature. And thank you so much.
I would take it one step further, and I'd say, what is it really? It's frequencies, because chemicals are frequencies. And that's what the receptors react to, a specific frequency, which comes from specific chemicals.
Right, just true.
Yeah, perfect. Do we want to answer a couple more questions?
Actually, I think we should probably, because I have a patient.
Okay. So do you want to kind of tell a little bit of what we've been kind of working a little bit, Audrey? Putting together, I guess, you know, an opportunity for people to work with you.
Again, using your skills and my skills, there is an opportunity we've been talking about of looking at putting together a longevity and wellness program, and I think that's something that will be evolving and unfolding. And
yeah, stay tuned because we got
May
going to be pretty.
May I say something?
Yeah.
I think that's a marvelous program you've got there, Vlad. That's a real, what we would say in England, power to your elbow, because because you know there are so many things on the market in the supplement. Just talk about supplements, not talking about medicines. There's so many things available, and a lot of people, they take them on a kind of shotgun approach. I'll take loads of them because one of them will work. Whereas what we really need to do is target shoot, and you can only know that from testing yourself, treating yourself, and testing yourself again. So I've been listening to how you're having all these different programs to help people, and I think that really takes your program above and beyond anything else out there.
thank you so much, Phil. Your blessings make all the difference in the world.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be with everyone.
And I can't wait to see you again, Phil. And
I'll
here
have to find,
maybe we
have
can
to find
Phil
some
on
new
camera
jokes.
next time.
Oh, I've got my pajamas on, so you wouldn't want to see me now.
Oh, well, thank you so much for Phil. I really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for being there. It's been nice to listen to you all.
Oh, you're so welcome. And stay well, and I can't wait to see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All righty, so gonna close?
Yeah, so I guess just thanks everybody for tuning in. I think I apologize we weren't able to get out everybody's questions. There was a lot more questions than I expected, but I guess that means we have to do a repeat.
Yes, we do. So please tune in again.
Yeah,
And
so
thank you
we'll
for joining us.
tentatively schedule it for next week or in 2 weeks.
Well, let's you and I talk, and then we can get back to everyone.
Yeah, so we'll go from there. All right,
Right.
you guys. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you all later.
Thank you.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.